Good morning, John.
Good morning, Phil. Good to see you, mate.
Yeah, you too. Well, back by popular demand, John, we've got the Q Sport review.
Yep.
Alex has been unavailable, so we needed a living legend to replace Alex. So we got rid of one Australian champion and we brought in another. So
yeah, you got the mini ace. Okay, good on you, Phil. Look, I appreciate the opportunity. I think we need to be promoting our sports, and I say sports as in Q Sports across the board, and we don't do enough of it.
Yeah.
I mean, fortunate that you've got the premises here, and we conduct the best snooker in South Australia. Everything. This is the epicenter of snooker and billiards in South Australia, and it's fantastic. So you've got your finger on the pie, or on the pulse, if you like. I said on the pie, but on the pulse, so you know exactly what's going on, not just here but interstate, and we'll get to what's happening abroad later on.
Yeah.
But yeah, look, for me, opportunity. Obviously, I'm more 8-ball based. I dabble at the others, but I'm certainly never featured at anything. But I certainly enjoy Q Sports across the board. I like to play all games. But yeah, and I really appreciate the fact that you've reached out to me to come and join you, because, as you said, nice man's shoes are hard to fill. They're big pair of shoes, but I'll do the best I can.
Well, first of all, John, what's the shirt you're wearing?
Okay, well, it's an interesting question, actually. As you know, my heritage, I am a Māori, so from New Zealand, and very proud one. This shirt actually belonged to Desi Blair. I swapped it with him on the Gold Coast in 2004.
He's a nice guy, and
good guy. There's another international traveller that's settled somewhere else. Irishman that's settled in New Zealand. Here we are, got an Englishman and a Kiwi in Australia. So yeah, it's a global sport. But yeah, Des and I always got on well, and he offered a shirt to me, and I said, "Oh, that's fantastic, mate, and I'll wear it with pride." And that happened to be South Australia's 6th win in a row in the teams event.
At the Nationals.
At the Nationals, yeah. So
A long time ago.
well, that's right. And I was fortunate enough to make my comeback under your tutelage as captain. I think it was Darwin.
Oh, it was in Darwin. Yeah.
In Darwin, yeah. And there we go. So we went. You won 3 of them, and then said, "Look, I need to have a rest and start a family. JB, will you take over the team?" And I said, "Look, I'll do what I can, mate." So I won the next 3, or I helped win the next 3 with the fantastic players we had back then, Phil.
Yeah.
We were just so lucky. We were blessed with the amount of talent that we could have probably taken 2 teams during that era. Because everyone said, "Oh, every time you turn up, they say, oh, where's so-and-so, where's so-and-so?" Then all answer these questions, they didn't make it. So, well, mate, we've got to be, it's tough to make South Australian teams. So we're very fortunate, and that sort of was our 6-pack, and I don't think that'll ever be done again. So we did 3 each, mate. Give me a 5.
Well done. Yeah, no, it was exciting times, and like you said, John, it was very difficult to get in the team back then. And like you said, superstars got left on the bench, and superstars didn't make the team.
Didn't make the team.
And you had to earn your stripes to get in the side. So you were always going to be a force in that period of time. But we were struggling before that. So anyway.
We had a little bit of, it was funny, we had patches. We went from probably the 84 to probably the late 90s, where we probably won more than 50% of them.
Yeah.
And then we had a little late 90s. We had a dry spell, and then you got things going again. And then sort of at the end of my run of 04, again very intermittent. We've probably been intermittent ever since. Sort of every second or third, maybe every third now. The Vics have certainly caught up with us, and gone past us. They have some fantastic, and they're all good lads too. We know them pretty well. We've seen them come through the system, and we're quite fortunate that they're still respectful of us. They still beat us up when we play them, but in terms of I suppose respect for the game and what we've done, they've been very good with us. So, we're fortunate.
Well, the good news is, John, that a couple of decades on, we're still playing and still featuring in events. So
I don't know featuring.
Well, there were some victories on the weekend.
Yes.
For,
well, that's right. I mean, I'm quite fortunate that we've just had our Abassa State Carnival. So we only had 10 teams this year. but it actually worked very well because it meant that we finished each day at a reasonable hour. Teams could get back home, but those intrastate guys, Whyalla, Port Augusta, and Mount Gambier, border town, they could all get away at a reasonable hour and get home instead of sort of travelling in the late at night just to get back.
So where were them teams from, John?
So we had
Only from Adelaide.
Okay, we actually had 7 teams from here. So we had 3 from Northern. So Louis Rossi put in three teams from Northern. We had 2 from City of Adelaide, 2 from Abasa, that's South Australian Netball Association, and then Whyalla, Port Augusta, and a blended team from representing Mount Gambier, but actually made up of players from Border Town as well.
Oh, fantastic.
So yeah, and they were good solid team. They were very close to qualifying actually, so a good effort by them. But yeah, all round we were very pleased to end up winning it.
So which team were you in, John?
I played in Bassett too, and it was a bit of a scratch-up team because we expressly sat down and selected the best team we could.
Yeah.
Okay, so we had Jaden Jamaica, Daniel Porter, Dave Ewing, Stacey Vine, Lyndall, and Michael Hayes. So there was going to be 6 in that team.
That's a
great
state
team.
team.
Yeah, considering that Ace wasn't available, he would normally be selected in that team. He's in Darwin. Mikey Cacciola was at his brother's wedding, so he couldn't be involved. So yeah, though, apart from those 2, everyone who was anybody in South Australia just about was there. There's probably 2 or 3 others that could have been fringes. And then we decided to make up the second side of people based on their scores on pool stat to date.
Yeah.
So we went down the line. A lot of people couldn't make it. Unfortunately, Heath Seidel was one of the selected players that couldn't make it. He was actually ready to go, and then there was a COVID case in his house, so he was locked. He couldn't do it. Who was the other one? Geordie Mitchell, saying got moving house. He had so much on. He was a selection opportunity that couldn't play. So in the end, we had of the 3 players actually that were selected that played was Jason Ahmed, Nick Lynch, myself, and then when Geordie Mitchell pulled out, it was 4 days to go.
Yeah.
So I rang a couple of committee members. I said, look, I'm not going to just keep going down here. I think JL will play. If I convince him, I can get John Lehman to play. They go, look, that's fine. So I convinced JL to play. Well, it wasn't that hard. And then again, we had another player out. So we had to then go, and fortunately, young Trent Bowes, because his name had been mentioned. That's putting a junior in the team just to blood him in an opportunity like this, and it worked well. So the 5 of us, we put together a very solid qualifying day, 4 matches, all 10-5 wins. So nothing spectacular. Oh, sorry, one was a 13-2, but I think there was playing a team that sort of hadn't got. They decided they can't make it and didn't have a lot of fight left. Yeah. I won't mention that which team it was, but it was just one of those. Yeah, we're endless. So not a lot of going on there. Then in the semis we played Port Augusta. Oh no, Port Augusta was our runner-up. So they went to the other side. We played Whyalla.
So Whyalla and Port Augusta was the 2 SAs.
The 2 SAs. So great for the 2 countrysides to come and get that close. I think actually, I reckon Port Augusta got ahead of the number 1 team. I reckon they were 4-3 up at one stage because we were playing diagonally across. And I just keep an eye on the scoreboard, and I noticed that they were 4-3 up. I was like, oh, okay. Well, let's see how the number 1 side goes with a bit of heat on them. And then we eventually won. I can't remember honestly. It's bad. I think we won. Might have been 8-4.
Yeah.
So they played okay. There was enough heat there that we felt that we had to produce our best to to beat them. And then eventually, I think they actually ended up winning 8-4 or 5 as well. So they actually ran over the top of Port Augusta, the number 1 side. Then final, we jumped them early, 4-0 up, and Phil, scoreboard pressure is massive, and it's very hard, irrespective of how hot your team is. once you get behind like that, everyone feels a little bit more pressure. I need to win this one to get us back in it. I need to win this one. And it went to the wire.
Yeah.
They got all the way back to 7-all, and Lyndon and I played something that probably a match that you'd have to be an old schooler to appreciate.
Yeah.
Yeah, how the frame unfolded and the reasoning behind a lot of the shots. And Lyndon has been playing since she was like 12 or something like that. So although I'm highly experienced, she's not that far behind me in terms of tactical knowledge.
And she would know your game inside out.
Oh yeah, well we play together. We play together in Super League, so she does, and vice versa. So it was a really good match, and to her credit, I was in the dominant position, and then she was able to get the first crack.
Yeah.
And unlucky not to finish it. She played a great frame. In the end, I had to play across the table to pot the black. Very, very simple one, but that's how we finished the frame. So. But yeah, they're just an amazing game, and a great result for
Great.
a bunch of guys just trying to get it really.
Yeah, still sounds like it was a very good carnival, and everyone would have had a good time.
Everyone went home
Set
happy.
the runners up.
I spoke to all the interstate guys, and they said they loved it. And I think in years to come we've probably got to reduce that to 12 maximum.
Yeah.
Because then we can actually run it to a reasonable time frame. Yeah, rather than have 16 teams in there, which is just jammed up tight. It's too tough to run in that confined space. It's a good space for 12 teams, but 16 is just doesn't work. So we'll see what happens in the future. But I'll have to discuss that with the committee, and we'll work out the best way to approach that going forward. But yeah, and then last weekend, weekend before last, rather, we had the Adelaide Cup.
So that's a new event here in Adelaide as well, isn't it?
Yeah, Alex is very inventive in trying to keep the game interesting, offer active and opportunities for people to play in a highly competitive scenario rather than to knock around with their friends.
Yeah.
And the Adelaide Cup he introduced this year. Probably 3 people we should mention. Obviously the winner, Mike Cacciola. And the runner-up Ian Hinton. Ian comes down regularly and plays here. Loves coming to Adelaide. Loves the tables. Always at the pointy end when he comes down here. He's done very well. You can see why he likes to come back, obviously. And the other one was Lyndall actually beating Alec along the way, which is unheard of. Like I won't say unheard of. Very hard for you and I to beat him.
Yeah.
And
for anybody to beat
him. Anybody to beat him. And Lyndall played really well to get him. So that's something that big shout out to her. That was an excellent match she played.
Yeah, well, Lyndall making the semi. She beat Michael Hayes as well on the way. Another
That's right, yeah.
The player that came down from Darwin, she beat him.
That's right, yeah. So
she didn't get an easy draw.
No, that's right. She did it tough. So that was a fantastic effort for her. And then Mikey just cruised along. He seemed to change gears.
Yeah.
It gets a bit flat at times, and that's the only thing that probably where it can be susceptible. But once he's in flow, he's just like poor Lyndall. She ran into a Mack truck there. Her hair just, I don't think he missed the ball. It was just, after she'd been through that, she's real pumped, and I've got the Iceman. And then Mikey, in the semi, Mikey was just way too strong. But yeah, so great tournament there. Then obviously the carnival we just had. We've got a bit of a break until the Masters, I think 27th, let me just check, 27th, 28th. I'll just go to my, what's going on here? No answer there. Where are we? I did actually have it here too. Sorry mate, you have a chat.
Right. Even in that Adelaide comp, Ricky Watson, an old foe, returned to the scene, and he was always a fantastic player, and everyone probably relates to him as an 9-ball player, but he was very tough on the old 8-ball knockout scene at the time, John, and I have a lot of time for Ricky because I know what a good player he is, so I was really pleased for seeing Ricky Watson make the semi-final as well.
Yeah, well, Ricky was, I think he just got a bit tired. He'd been playing very well.
Yeah.
And I watched him, I watched a lot of that semi, and he actually made more errors in that semi, I think, than he made for for the weekend.
Yeah.
Just got a bit tired. I mean, I don't know, how old is he now? I mean, what do you think he's a kid? Because I only remember him as that
normally
kid
got
from
about
down
a
south.
fiver on on record now. He would
He's got to be 45?
be in his mid-40s.
Yeah. So, you know, and yeah, interesting. And look, we all love Ricky. I mean, he's just one of those. No one can say a bad word. Anyone says a bad word, there's something wrong with them.
Yeah.
You know, because you and I have known him for like, at least 30 years. He was a kid.
Yeah.
He was a kid, and never a bad word come out of his mouth.
Yeah.
I don't think. You know, I mean, I can be quite abusive with some people, but I mean, you never hear it from him.
Yeah, no. So he did very well. So
no, great effort to see a comeback like that. Really, we're still trying to track down who won the Darwin Open, and we know that Travis Crawley was in the final against his good friend Justin Sage. So the last I saw, I think Trav was in front, and this is while where were we? I think we're still about to play the final when that. So I sort of lost track, and I apologise. Probably got a bit caught up in what was going on in our match. So yeah, I'm still waiting for someone to come back to me on that, and that hasn't happened.
Alex made the semi-finals.
Alex made the semis. Yeah, it's done well, and it's
Got beat by Justin.
Beaten by Justin. Justin's tough. He's such a good player, and we had a quick chat to each other, you know, off camera about the travelling Wilbury.
Yeah,
I mean, that's who he is. This bloke.
As Q will travel.
No one moves around the world as much as this guy. I mean, not just around the world, around the country. Anywhere there's a tournament, he's there.
He's not fussy. He doesn't care what code it is, what sport it is.
That's right. Doesn't matter whether it's traditional two shots, whether it's ultimate pool. You name the rules. Long as there's a cue and balls involved, I can go and win it.
And I don't care who they are.
And I'm not afraid of anyone. And yeah, he's good. I mean, he's got his own business. He's an accountant. So a lot of stuff. It's self-funded. It's not like he's got a backer that says, here you go, send you off all over the place. He's had to do it all off his own bat. And yeah, good on him.
What I find amazing, John, is 5 weeks ago he lost in the final of the Oceania Snooker. The winner of that gets a pro ticket to go play on the pro tour in England. He's one match from being a pro snooker player.
Yeah.
2 weeks later, he's playing in America in the World 10 ball, 8 ball, sorry, and so he played 10 ball and the 8 ball.
Yeah.
And John, he's lost hill in the winners' half of the US Open 8 ball to get in the final of the US Open. Now that's amazing.
Yeah.
So he's gone snooker to there, and then all of a sudden he's now playing in Darwin in a 2-shot pool tournament. He's in the final. So I just take my hat off to Justin. He's massive ambassador for Q Sports in Australia.
Yep.
He's Mr. Pool in Australia.
Just Mr. Q Sport, you name it, whatever you want. Because I mean, yeah, he's a very strong snooker player as well. But yeah, certainly 9 ball and 8 ball seem to be his preference. And as you say, he's a great ambassador because he's just a top bloke.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've all, you know, I've had a drink with him. I remember, I can't remember now, it must be 6 or 7 years ago now. I was up at Darwin, played the Darwin Open when Ben Crawley was about to get married.
Yeah.
So we went up there and spent a week there with Ben and his family, and he goes, oh, there happened to be a tournament on, so I might as well bring my cue there.
It's a coincidence there, John.
So James Delahunty ended up beating Justin in the final, in a great final, and we went out and had a bite afterwards, the three of us, and I should give a shout out to the restaurant, but I can't remember it now. But really good restaurant, Asian fusion restaurant. So just it'll come to me a bit later, but yeah, it was just fantastic food, and they both loved it, and obviously we ordered too much.
Wouldn't expect anything less, John.
But yeah, good lads. We had good time together. But Justin, can't give him enough praise for his involvement in the game, and it's positive involvement. You know, if everywhere you see him, you have a chat with him, he'll get you just outgoing, happy to have a chat, give you anything you ask for. You've got something, oh, you played this particular shot, I didn't see that, haven't seen that before. He'll tell you how he played it. And that's the genuine ambassador to me.
Yeah.
Someone that'll do well, happy to chat to people, and pass knowledge on freely.
Well, he's definitely up there, John.
Yep.
Well, while we're on about legends, John, I have to tell you about state billiards here on the weekend.
Yep.
We had the SA State Billiards title. We had 16 runners in the event, John. We had 4 people pull out, with a couple with COVID, one with sick, another one couldn't make it. So we would have had 20 players in the field, which is massive for billiards. And honestly, John, the people that play billiards, it's an enthusiast. They love it because they like playing the game.
Yep.
And when we had 16 or 20 players, realistically there's only 3 that can win the event. So the people that are supporting it are there because they love playing billiards. And we had a fantastic day on the Saturday, the round robin. Then it went into the quarterfinals where it starts to get a little bit more serious.
Yep.
Tab Babiak, the number 2 seed, he was one of the people, was a late withdrawal, so that opened up a semi-final spot there. But you still had your Peter Udich, 16 times champion, Max Renziak, 13 or 14 state champion, Arthur Cronus, 2 times state champion. So in the event, the 3 big guns all progressed to the semi-final.
Yep.
And I benefited from Tad pulling out on the weekend and slid in the 4th spot to make the semis, John. But I drew Peter Udich in the 1 semi-final, and it was Max and Arthur Cronus in the other semi.
Okay.
At the halfway stage, because they play 2 3-hour. The semi-finals 3 hours. We have 2 1.5-hour sessions. So at the halfway stage, I was 60 points up on Peter, and Max was 40 points up on Arthur.
Yep.
At the full time, Max and I both lost by 150 points. So Peter, he just went to the next level and took me apart quite easy and cruised to a victory.
Yep.
And I think Max probably tied a little bit, and Arthur.
Well, he's not as old as me, Max. He's got to be around my age. So yeah, okay.
Early 50s.
Yeah, early 50s. Well, yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Max also a sensational player.
Yeah.
So anyway, Arthur and Peter Udich are in the final. That'll be played this Friday night here at 6:45 here, and we'll stream it live through our Snooker SA Adelaide Facebook page.
Cool.
But super excited to see Peter and Arthur go head to head again. Peter's such a dominant player in billiards. You don't win 16 state titles.
No, that's right.
And then throw on top that he's won other events as well. So he's just an amazing player. But if Arthur plays well,
Arthur's been putting a lot of time in. He doesn't practice anything else anymore.
That's all he plays.
All he plays is billiards. So I know a few times, not that I'm here often, but a few times I have come up. He only ever knocks him around on the billiard table. He plays on that one table, so he's not interested in playing snooker. And that's good. I mean, it's good that Arthur's got a passion, because we all love Archie. He's been around since I first arrived here back in the early 80s. He was playing at Tavern 63 or Lord Melbourne back then. They had a fantastic side, great history down there. To see him still, but he wilted there for a while, lost his way, if you like. So it's just good to see him have a passion for the game again, and won't play April, not interested in April, casually interested in snooker, but billiards. That's a little spark that gives him, and he's it's good to see.
The one thing you were talking about, John, was at the beginning of the show was when we won 6 in a row, and it was really hard to make a state team. Arthur was part of that era.
Yep.
Who had this fierce competitive edge. And if I drew Arthur in a knockout, I knew that this was a nightmare. And if I won, I was relieved. And if I lost, it was no surprise. And he still has that genuine thirst to win, and he's a fierce competitor. So whatever happens on Friday night, you know that Arthur will give 100%.
Yeah, that's right. He'll
take it to Peter.
Yeah, well, they're good mates, and and it's a good rivalry. It's
Yeah.
a good friendly rivalry. They both want to get the other one.
Yeah.
So it's no like, oh, he's a good mate, I need him. No, none of that. We're good mates, but I'm going to rip your heart out. Yeah, that's the sort of atmosphere they'll create there. I think that'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah. So anyway, that's the estate billiards. And what about
Let's go to a global scene.
the global scene? Well, John, there's two things I need to speak about globally. The first one is one of our favourite players in Australia, Anna Lynch. You probably don't know Anna well,
No.
but she's the Australian and the world billiard champion.
Okay.
And she's moved to England to be with her fiance, and she's been playing on the Lady Pro Snooker over there. She's been making the top 16 in snooker and dominating all the billiards.
Okay.
But she got married last week, and
Okay.
she married also one of the world's best billiard players in Robert Hall. So
I know
shout
of him
out,
only,
yeah.
yeah.
So a big shout out to Robert and Anna. Congratulations on your wedding. Look forward to seeing you here in Adelaide in July when she comes over to defend her title.
Yep.
So I'd hate to know who does the dishes in that house, John. You've got
Yeah, the first one to make a 500 break, the other one does the dishes. Okay.
yeah. So
Yeah, that makes sense.
Rob's top 3 in the world, former world champion. He's the current UK champion. So and then he has to tell everyone his wife's the world champion.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
anyway, it's a good combination.
Yep.
Their children should be pretty handy players. But the main thing is we've had the World Snooker. It's the highlight of, I'd say, world Q Sports. Everyone loves watching World Snooker, John, and it's been an amazing 2 weeks. And get to the semis, and you've got 2 47-year-olds and a 46-year-old. And Trump said he thought he was playing in the Masters event. And I'll give you a tip. You wouldn't want to be playing them dudes all day, every day. And
No, well, it's fascinating, Phil, and again we've talked about this previously about how these 3 guys, the class of '92 they call them, are still there.
yeah,
Like it's 30 years ago. That's 30 years since they joined the circuit, and they're still at the pointy end. They're not just hanging around making up the numbers. They're winning tournaments and playing still as good as they've ever played. I mean, that semi-final with
Mark Williams and Trump.
what a comeback by Williams. It looked dead and buried because he'd actually lost it early.
Yeah.
I watched some of those early rounds, and you could just see he'd walk off after missing a shot he should never miss, and it's just like he just can't work it out. My mojo's gone missing. So he obviously found it during one of the breaks because when he made that comeback, he just looked. I actually thought he was going to come back and win.
Yeah, no, I've watched a lot of snooker in my life, John, and I was blown away with how well Mark Williams played and how he come back and never gave in. But John, it's when you said 30 years ago, when they joined 30 years ago, they were a force.
Yeah, that's right. They weren't
It
just
wasn't
turning
like
up.
it took them 10 years to get going.
They were already hurting people.
Within a couple of years, they're winning events,
Yeah.
and to say 30 years later, these guys are still unbeatable. And John, you can't see anyone taking their shoes.
Not yet, not for a while. I mean, as long as they can maintain the passion, which is the hardest thing. Once you get to that sort of the 50s, towards 50, as long as they can maintain the passion, then they'll be fine. Because if you go back to I remember Steve Davis saying he hated the end of the tournament.
Yeah.
Or I hated tournaments rather. He loved the end of tournaments because then he could start practicing again. Because then he'd get into his routine.
Yeah.
The tournament sort of broke up his routine. He had his practice structure all worked out. That's what he loved the most. Just loved practicing. To get everything right. To go, try this or get all this. And then, I'm never going to play. But that's not as much fun as what I did. So, okay, I'm going to work hard and win this, then I'm going to go back and play what I like. It's...
Well, you know what, John? There was an amazing quote from Ronnie this morning. They asked him about joining Hendry on 7 victories each, and his reply was, "It's amazing, and we'll have to share it for this year." Thinking, so he is planning on coming back. He's now equalled Hendry. Now it's time to say, they ain't going away.
No, because he's just. I think everyone that's ever had any sort of skill at snooker understands the level that Ronnie's at. It's staggering that he can maintain that for all this time. And there was a time when, he went through, maybe 10 years ago, where if he wasn't producing his standard, he'd just wipe the balls and walk off it and not play anymore.
Yeah.
Like he was such a perfectionist that if anything wasn't quite right, I'm not playing now.
Yeah.
And we talked about his coaching.
Peter's the sports psychologist.
But also about the coach, was Del Champ. First time he took on a coach, I'm trying to remember, the old chap with the Widow's Peak. Great champion, snooker champ. Anyway, he actually taught him to fight, the benefit of fighting. Anyone can win when they're feeling good and all the balls are going in. What do you do when it's not working? And that's when he realised the value of every frame, not just the frames where he made 100 or made a clearance or whatever it was, to value every frame and put as much in there as you could. And that's since then. I mean, really, his snooker is so balanced now. It was a very one-sided, aggressive sort of style of snooker he played, and now it's probably not as good as some of the other guys in terms of their safety. The Selby type of safety, but it's still 90% of that.
Tell you what, John, you and I both love sport. We watch all sports. I think there's an old cliche that a player is never bigger than the sport or the team. I think Ronnie is just about bigger than the sport.
I think
when you mention snooker, it's always Ronnie O'Sullivan. Doesn't matter what anyone says.
That's right, yeah. I mean, this is from 14-year-olds just starting to play to 80-year-olds that have been watching it since the 50s on TV. They'll never be a better player. And they won't maybe never. It's freaks. You're right. I mean, the game will always continue, but it'll be very hard to find anyone that can parallel what Ronnie's done. It just doesn't. You can't see it. It's just phenomenal because he strokes the ball so nicely. His imagination's so good. His multi-cushion position.
Any hand?
Yeah, that's right. I mean that's a huge bonus. I mean, you're fortunate that you and I are not bad jigger players, so we can use the rest pretty well. But a lot of people, it's restricted for them with what shots they can play with it. Where him, it doesn't really care. That's a fine. And there's no shot. It's not limiting. I can only stun these, or I can only roll these in. What I need to do, I need to punch it in with some running side off the cushion, go down there. Left hand, I can do that. But it is staggering. I can't remember whether this could be an urban myth, but I reckon there was an interview with him once about permanently playing left-handed, and I reckon there was a quote I remember. I'm old now, so it could have been one I fabricated. Who knows? But I think he said he'd rate himself in the top 5 in the world if he only played left-handed.
Well, he's played matches left-handed and beat world champions left-handed. So he's done that to annoy players. So we know how hard the sport is, let alone play with the other hand. So he's a freak.
I was struggling to knock a ball 4 inches down the track, left-handed. So all credit to him.
Anyway, John, we'll get back onto here. Moving forward, we're doing this for SAQ Sports, so if people want to get hold of John or I, we're happy to talk about anything. All we want to do is promote Q Sports and all Q Sports, whether it's black ball, two-shot pool, American pool, Vegas League,
Ultimate rules,
RSL,
whatever.
Potters. It's about promoting South Australian Q Sports and highlighting the good things that's happening here and the amazing players that come out of this state. So feel free to contact me at Snooker SA if you don't know my own personal number, and everyone knows where you can get hold of John. So for any information, please get in touch with John and I, and we're looking at doing the Q Sport review fortnightly. And it'll be around this time every second Tuesday.
Every second Tuesday, roughly at 9:30, we'll log in. We always like to have a bit of chat, and unfortunately, because we both like to chat, we got off a bit late today. But whatever, I'm sure if you're keen, You'll probably watch it later on anyway, but I just appreciate the fact that we're allowed to big a shout out to G Sports around the world, but certainly South Australia is what we're here for today.
All right, John. Pleasure, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Good on to that.